Robert Callahan.
Here.
Thank you. Hunji Charles.
He's here somewhere.
Yeah, thank you. Helen Coley. Nora Daniel.
Here.
Thank you. James Ellis.
Here.
Thank you. Kevin Farley.
Here.
Thank you. Andrea Ferris.
Here.
Thank you. Fred Frazier. Drew Gabriel.
Here.
Thank you. Tamika Gibbs.
Here.
Thank you. Dejani Granville.
Here.
Thank you. Jeannie Harris Blenman. Marva Henry. Zerzima Jordan. Thought I saw Miss Jordan.
Miss Jordan's here.
Thank you. Regina Kinsey. Sarah Lazar.
Present.
Thank you. Mireille Lemaine.
Here.
Thank you. Elaine Mahoney.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Puka. Thank you. Yaya Raji. Adam Sachs.
Present.
Thank you. Brian Saunders. Meredith Staten.
Brian's here. Brian's here.
Brian is here. Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Carmisha Superville. Audrey Tate Hall. Mark Thurton.
Here.
Thank you. Greg Todd. Mr. Todd. Oh, I see him. He's here. Thank you. Ethel Tias. Ms. Tias was here. Thank you. Mr. Vicconi. Gib Vicconi.
Here.
Thank you. Eves Villas. Kimberly Watson. Irsa Weatherspoon.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax here. Deborah Young. Vilma Zuniga. We have 27 present. We have a quorum.
Yay.
Could you repeat that number, please?
37.
37. Thank you.
27.
27. Okay.
27.
Thank you. Okay, so on tonight's agenda, we have, we're going to go over the October minutes at our next meeting. As far as correspondence goes, you should be getting a notice in the newsletter regarding changes to defect programs from City Council. And Ms. George, I'd ask Ms. George to tell us about any additional correspondence that we need to review. Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
I said we don't have any at this time, but Cara Clark from Senate-elect Jabari Bisport has an announcement she wants to make.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone can hear me all right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Cara Clark, and I'm the Chief of Staff to the Senator-elect Jabari Brisport, who represents the 25th District, and all of you. So I just wanted to introduce myself and say good evening. The Senator-elect would be here himself to make these announcements, but he has a meeting with some other constituents this evening as well. So I won't take up too much of your time. I just wanted to announce that the Senator-elect's office is hiring, and I wanted to share the job listing with you all for yourselves or to circulate to anyone that you think might be interested for his constituent service advocates. There are 3 positions that we're looking to hire. So I'll share the job listing in the chat after I speak. And then the other thing I want to say is that if they're not interested in full-time positions for the office, but want to volunteer their time, they're more than welcome to do so.
What is that? What is that? Whoever has their mic open, please close your mic so that we can hear Ms. Clark. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Ms.
Thank you. So if anyone is interested in volunteering for the office, they're more than welcome to reach out to us as well. And I'll send an email address in the chat for people that want to reach out to us. And then lastly, I wanted to invite everyone here to a town hall at which the senator-elect will be speaking, along with the Assemblywoman-elect Farrah Sue Front Forrest, about the New York Health Act and how that or statewide healthcare could improve the health of all New Yorkers. So that's all I wanted to say to you all. It's so nice to see all of your faces. And have a wonderful meeting. I'll paste those resources in the chat for you all.
Thank you for sharing that. We look forward to getting the vacancy notices so that people can check their education and past work history meets your requirements. So I wanted to know from our fellow board members who are watching the chat if we have other elected officials or representatives in the audience who wish to speak at this moment. Seeing none, we'll go on to action item.
Kim Robinson from Councilwoman. Okay.
Alika. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim Robinson, and I represent Council Member Alika Ampry Samuel from 41st District. On behalf of the council member, I bring greetings. I want to wish everyone a safe and a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. We very much appreciate you attending our board meetings. You keep your finger on the pulse, and a rapid response timing is something we look forward to from the council member's office. It's always been there. Thank you very much.
Ms. Tyus, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ellis. We're moving on down the agenda, which I hope everyone has. Next up is Mr. Ellis with the SLA and Sidewalk Cafe Review Committee report.
Thank you, Ms. Tyus. I also would like to add that as one of the monitors of this online teleconference, along with the other vice chair, Ms. Irsa Weatherspoon, we're asking if there's any questions or comments to any issues to please ask to all panelists, or we also will try to monitor the hand raise function on the list there. On your participants list, there's a small hand icon that you can use to indicate that you have a question or a comment. If you use either one of these options, we should be able to monitor any responses and comments comprehensively and make sure everybody has an opportunity to have their question or comment heard or articulated. So thank you for that little piece of housekeeping that I wanted to share in advance. As I move over into my committee chair role position, I'd like to share a couple things. This committee really oversees permitting and applications for liquor licenses at the state level, as well as sidewalk cafe permits at the local level. Obviously, during the current circumstances, sidewalk cafe permitting is not necessarily a major issue because the city has granted open access to use for businesses to set up outside. Also, if you followed in the news recently, I think as of yesterday, the governor announced some restrictions and limitations on restaurant and bar service that will currently, if you have a SLA license, you will be limited to a 10 p.m. closure starting Friday at 10 p.m. There's other restrictions involved as well for gyms, as well as private gatherings, but more concerned with those licenses in our community board district. I say this because as we continue to navigate through this process and trying to advocate for businesses to be good neighbors, as well as neighbors to be understanding of current circumstances, I want to share with you a program that the city has that are concerns and issues regarding hospitality establishments or any business for that matter. There's a program called Mend NYC, and I'll put the link in the chat. This is through the Office of Tribunals and Hearings that allows neighbors, forgive me 1 second, I've got a siren going by. All right, thank you for that, your patience there. So this is an opportunity for neighbors to be able to work with the business through a mediation process rather than sicking regulatory enforcement agencies on their activities. Typically, the business is willing to make some adaptations to their operations if knowing that there's concerns by neighbors and the community at large. So I really do encourage our neighbors and sharing with others to either directly speak with the business before reporting to regulatory enforcement agencies, unless, of course, there's a public health risk or a public safety issue that needs to be addressed immediately, then, of course, please take whatever steps you need to take in that case. But again, the link is in the chat. It's called Mend NYC. It's to help businesses and community members navigate through conflict resolution in a way that may not be punitive and cause the businesses any other regulatory enforcement concerns. So thank you for the opportunity to share that. And now I'll move into our action item that we had from our last meeting. The SLA committee met on Monday, November 2nd via WebEx. The committee entertained one new liquor license application for Trini Girl West Indian Cuisine at 628 Nostrand Avenue for a license to sell beer, wine, and cider. Details of the application include hours of operation 10 a.m. to midnight Sundays, 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Outside of current COVID activities, indoor seating will be 4 tables with 8 seats and 1 bar area with 8 seats, bringing a maximum patron capacity to 20. There was no outdoor space indicated on this application outside of current allowable COVID opportunities, but all establishments are allowed curbside seating in the parking lane, provided there's neither a bus stop or fire hydrant or other infrastructure. The committee voted 10 in favor with no abstentions or opposition to support this application and hopes that the full board supports its recommendation. At this time, I'll ask for any questions or comments on this action item. We'll start with any members of our community first, and then we'll move on to members of the board. Checking for any raised hands. Ms. Weatherspoon, you can also, I see a raised hand from an Andrea. Would you like to unmute yourself and make a comment? Andrea?
Is that
Puka?
Andrea Ferris?
It just says Andrea in the participant list.
Is that Ms. Ferris?
I don't know. And then I also see Mr. Robert Puka has his hand up.
I'm trying to get the hand raised down.
All right, Andrea, no problem.
My hand is not raised.
Okay.
Is that Mr. Puka?
Yes, so we can clear out those raised
because
hands.
I did ask him. Thank you.
Okay, seeing or hearing no questions from any members of the community, are there any questions from the board, community board 8 members? Again, either make a comment in the chat, raise your hand.
What's the 4th Street?
I believe it's between Pacific and Dean.
Thank you.
Okay. No, I'm giving just another 5 seconds to review to make sure everybody has a chance to unmute or type a question or to raise their hand. I don't see any, so at this time, I'd ask for a motion from any member of the Community Board 8.
I move that we support the committee's recommendation.
A motion?
Who was that?
Tamika.
Yourself.
Second, the motion was by Tamika Gibbs.
Thank you.
And the motion was by Sarah Lazar.
Wonderful. Just repeat for record, motion made by Sarah Lazar, second by Ms. Tamika Gibbs. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing or seeing none, Ms. Tyus?
We should call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Witherwax?
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Kiermany Allison.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Linda Andrews, Desmond Atkins, Lisa Atkinson, Wayne Bailey, Princess Ben James.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Ben James. Julia Boyd. We'll come back to Ms. Boyd. Gail Branch Mohammed.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Branch Mohammed. John Buckholtz.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Buckholtz. Robert Callahan.
Yes.
Thank you. Hunji Charles.
Yes.
Thank you. Helen Coley. Nora Daniel.
Yes.
Thank you. James Ellis.
Present, or yes, sorry, wrong vote.
They're both true. Thank you. Kevin Farley.
Yes.
Thank you. Andrea Ferris.
Yes.
Thank you. Fred Frazier. Rue Gabriel. Tamika Gibbs.
Yes.
Thank you. Najani Granville.
Yes.
Drew Gabriel unmuted himself.
And did Mr. Gabriel vote?
Did you hear me, Mr. Weatherwest?
I did not, Ms. Boyd, but I do now. What's your vote?
Whatever.
Don't say that, yes or no.
I can do yes or no. I can't do whatever.
Yes, but I can't get this phone together. Here.
Well, keep
phone
hanging.
is- yeah.
Moving on. Igenie
Drew
Harris.
Gabriel.
I said yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Igenie Harris Blenman.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Harris Blenman. Marva Henry.
Yes.
Thank you. Zuzima Jordan. Gina Casey. Sarah Lazar.
Miss Jordan just unmuted herself.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Sarah Lazar.
Yes.
Thank you. Marie Lemaine.
Yes.
Thank you. Elaine Mahoney.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Puka. Thank you. Yaya Raji.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Sachs, Adam Sachs.
Yes.
Thank you. Brian Saunders.
Yes.
Thank you. Meredith Staten. Carmisha Superville. Audrey Tate Hall. Mark Thurton.
Yes.
Greg Todd. Mr. Todd. I see thumbs up. Ethel Tyus.
Yes.
Thank you. Gib Piconi.
Yes.
Thank you. Eves Willis. Kimberly Watson. Yrsa Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax, yes. Deborah Young. Vilma Zuniga. The motion passes 30 in favor, 3-0. No opposed, no abstentions.
Mr. Weatherwax, as always,
Excuse me.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I couldn't unmute myself.
Oh, she's here.
I unmuted myself now. I was trying to unmute myself. I'm sorry when you called my name, but I'm going to abstain because I'm just joining in and I don't even know what we're voting on. I'm sorry.
thank you, Ms. Young.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Welcome. I've recorded your extension and your
Mr.
presence.
Ellis?
Thank you.
Hi, yes.
Yes, this is Yrsa. Before you continue, I just want to remind everyone, those who are making and second motions, as you do this, could you just please identify yourself so we won't have to ask? Thank you.
Very good point. Thank you, Ms. Weatherspoon. So I thank you all for the support of the committee's efforts. I want to remind everyone that the Community Board 8's SLA and Sidewalk Cafe Committee meets currently via WebEx on the first Mondays of the month, whereby we hear any application and renewals to liquor licenses within the boundaries of Community Board 8. So please join us. And if you're looking for the dates and times, please contact the board office or check the website for details. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Well done, well done. Next up is a report of minutes from the Land Use Committee meeting, which I will ask the Secretary, Ms. Nora Daniel, to read the resolution and recommendation.
Okay, just a moment.
Are you asking me, I'm sorry, you read the minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
No, the resolution.
same thing.
Okay, the action item was a resolution, application LPC 21-00136 for a certificate of appropriateness to legalize facade work and installation of a mailbox in noncompliance with certificate of no effect 16-7468 for 875 St. Mark's Avenue in the Crown Heights North Historic District. Whereas Guy Cohn of Cohn Architecture presented plans and photos describing the project, and whereas 2 of the 7 condominium owners at 875 St. Mark's Avenue implored the Land Use Committee to understand the financial burden caused by the prior owners' cavalier treatment of the building's extraordinary details, curved windows in the turret, stone and wood detail accents on the turret facade surrounding the fenestration, among other LPC violations, by removing those details. And whereas the project proponents presented the application as a hardship case and a contracting to rectify damage done by a prior owner, notwithstanding that apparently no research has been done into historic preservation requirements, related tax credits, or grants. Whereas damage done by the prior owner includes placing a modern multi-unit mailbox in the front areaway, and whereas committee members voiced concerns regarding setting undesirable precedents by supporting supplications from owners requesting forgiveness for out-of-character work done in violation of LPC permits, and whereas based on the work presented, committee member Deborah Young moved the committee to withhold support for legalizing inappropriate facade work, with a second by Sarah Laser. And whereas 11 community members voted to withhold support for the project as presented, with none against, no abstentions. Therefore, be it resolved that the committee withhold its support for the above described application, certificate of appropriateness of work in violation of LPC's permit, and recommends that the full board do the same.
Okay, Mr. Cohen, we can hear you coughing. You have your hand up now. You would like to say something before we put this to the full board?
Yes, yes, I would if I could, please.
Yes,
Okay.
3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of the full community board. I sent a letter along with some supporting documents yesterday to the community board, which supported the case that we had presented to the Land Use Committee that showed that the building owners, through no fault of their own, were the victims of the developer, Mr. Boaz Gilad from Brooklyn Capital. That was information that we did not have at the time of the Land Use Committee meeting. We were somewhat taken aback by the reaction that the Land Use Committee had towards the owners of the building. And so we felt that it was important that we would send some supporting documents that show very clearly that the owners had entered into an agreement with Boaz Gilad and that he broke the agreement, and that Brooklyn Capital went bankrupt, and they tried to contact the Attorney General's office. They actually did contact the Attorney General's office and sent letters through their attorneys to try and get some sort of closure and try to get Mr. Gilad to honor his agreements. And basically they were, as I had explained in the Land Use Committee meeting, they were the victims. They had no idea and were not complicit, and it was to no fault of their own. And they've been spending the last couple of years trying to figure out how to deal with this issue. And that's when they brought me in. And I just wanted to make the point that these are average everyday people. There's they're teachers, they're artists, they are just like everybody else in the community, and that they are victims here. And that's why I wanted to express my concern that the community board, at least at the land use meeting, felt that they might be somehow at fault or complicit, and that I just wanted to reiterate, and that's why I sent that documentation to Ms. Tyus. I sent it yesterday because I just obtained it yesterday. So that's why I'd like to just make the point that they're trying to work with the community board. They want to work within the community. They want to try and rectify some of the issues. We're willing to work and rectify some of these issues, but there are other things such as the bays and the replacement of the windows, which are so financially difficult that it would, and disruptive to the building, that it would be almost impossible for them to be able to afford it. And the idea of getting grants and things like that are very difficult for private homeowners in this particular case. So I just wanted to try and appeal to the committee and say that we're willing to work with you, but we also would like to sort of set up a dialogue and see if there's things that we might be able to work with and keep, and other things that would be easily corrected. And so that's what I wanted to say.
Well, it's been more than 3 minutes, Mr. Cohn, and I personally feel that the presentation that was made to the Land Use Committee was not as in-depth as it should have been, but I want to hear from 1 or 2 committee members, and then I would like to ask you if you would be willing to put off your LPC hearing that's coming up on the 17th and do some more work on what can be done to save the wonderful details on your building, and come back to the Land Use Committee in December or January. So I want to hear from a couple of members of the Land Use Committee or the full board. Board members, is there anyone who would like to speak to this issue?
Ms. Tyus?
Yes.
Who's
I
speaking?
I have my hand up.
Deborah Young.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Tyus, I'm glad that you made that suggestion. Mr. Cohen, I did read the documents you sent. The only comment that I have in terms of that is that I did not, because I made the motion and it was not against the owners. I understood very clearly that they were the victims. So whatever comments that I might have made and the discussions that I heard were not targeted at the owners. It was about the legalization of the proposal in a historic district. That's what was on the table. But as I thought about it from the Land Use Committee meeting and upon reviewing the documents that you submitted yesterday, I wanted to see if we could come up with a way that could be a win-win for everyone. Clearly, I don't support legalizing the project as presented. So for me, I would support if you would go back to the drawing board and come back to the Land Use Committee for further discussion and see where we might be able to meet so it's a win-win for everyone. We just cannot just blanketly approve things that don't fit into the historic district. We've worked too hard to maintain our properties and to maintain the historic district. So we're very cautious when things like this is presented to us. So again, I think it's a win-win for everybody if we could come back to the table. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Ms. Weatherspoon, who's next?
Question.
Ms. Weatherspoon, who's next?
Gib, did you have a question?
I didn't have a question. I'll just be very brief, though. Kind of building on what Ms. Young had to say. I don't think that the result of the land use committee meeting should be taken as laying blame at the feet of the owners of the building. Approving retroactively, that which is not consistent with the historic district, unfortunately sets a precedent that will be an encouragement to other property owners to not adhere to the procedures necessary to approve these sorts of changes in advance. And it just makes the district very, very difficult to maintain. And I think that's really the takeaway. It's not a referendum on the integrity of the people who live in the building. It's just it's just what's necessary to be able to manage the historic district. Thank you.
I would also like to say something as well, Mr. Cohn.
Yes.
What kind of stunted me a little bit is when you use complicit, and I don't believe that any of us walked away or felt in that discussion that they were complicit to what it is a developer did or didn't do. I think that we were really clear about how we that we can we do understand the difficult situation that they have found themselves in, but that was not a takeaway for me that they were complicit. So I just needed to speak on that word that was used.
Thank you, Ms. Weatherspoon. I'm also monitoring the comments and questions, and I noticed that both Rob Puka and Sarah Lazar have their hands indicated. I also see a third in line with Mr. Robert Callahan.
Just a quick point of information.
Sorry, 1 second, Mr. Callahan.
Yeah.
We'll wait for the chair to call on you. I was just acknowledging who's in queue.
Okay, I believe you mentioned Mr. Puka being first.
I did, and then Ms. Lazar, and then Mr. Callahan.
Thank you. Mr. Puka?
Yes, my question was, I wanted to, just third what everybody said about it. We're not holding the owners complicit. I had a question about have the owners. I had an issue in my building, and we ended up taking out a loan to finance the changes in the building. Have the owners considered that?
I'll have to answer for Mr. Cohn. The presentation, as I mentioned earlier, and as we heard this evening, is devoid of any numbers or any details on the financing. And I tried to make it clear to the applicant and the owners during the land use committee meeting that this section of the community district, the historic district over this part of CB8, is still considered, most of it is still considered distressed census tracts, and therefore homeowners can avail themselves of historic preservation tax credits, which the credits can be spread over a number of years. And it was apparent from the presentation and from the comments from the owners that attended that they were totally unaware of these options, in addition to the grants and as a source of funding to restore the building properly to what its former glory was. So they're not aware of it. I hope that as time goes by, they may take advantage of these programs that are only available in certain areas of historic districts throughout New York. I'm sorry, who's next?
Miss Lazar, and then Mr. Callahan.
Thank you. I'm overall in agreement with everything that has been said so far. I guess I'm feeling like the way that Mr. Cohen has presented this is to set up a sort of tug of war between the owners of the building and the land use committee, and I don't feel that that was the case. I don't feel that that's what was communicated at the meeting. And the owners of that building are not the victims of the historic districting rules, et cetera. They were victimized by the developer who took off without fulfilling their duty to, and also after having damaged the cultural patrimony or the artistic or the architectural patrimony of the neighborhood. So the solution isn't necessarily to just give it a blanket pass just because these particular owners didn't know what they were doing. And I would encourage the owners and their advocates to work with the very knowledgeable head of the land use committee, to work with CHNA to discuss all of the options for restoring the building to as close to its original condition as possible, which I just personally, I don't think is possible in having a vote tonight and trying to follow the calendar that you had imagined prior to this. I don't foresee that as being possible. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lazar. Mr. Callahan, and then I have one of the property owners who's indicated that they'd like to speak. So, Mr. Callahan, please.
Yes, just a brief point of information, Ms. Tyus. The documents that Mr. Cohn is referencing, I actually can't locate in the forums. I'd love to have a chance to review those documents before we take any sort of action. So I don't mean to put anything off. I think that the action that's being proposed is appropriate to give us time to review the documents, but just wanted to know if I had misplaced those or if they just hadn't been distributed.
I don't believe they were distributed to the land use committee, but I have to ask Ms. George or Ms. Neal to confirm that.
They were not. They were not. Just the people that he emailed. No, they were not.
So now we have the applicant here. We're not going to revisit what was done in land use committee. Okay, we don't do that. What we can do tonight is to take a motion from the floor on how to proceed. The applicant, if we decide to support the applicant in looking at making changes to the project proposal, the applicant would have to agree to withdraw from the scheduled hearing that they currently have with LPC. So those are avenues that we can take. And at this point, I have to ask the committee, the board for a motion on this.
Madam Chair, I think I indicated that we have one of the property owners that asked to speak.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Ellis. I want to be clear, we don't want to revisit the work that was done in the land use committee.
I would argue, Madam Chair, that a response on behalf of one of the property owners to many of the members' comments would be a fair and equitable opportunity for them to respond to what was said by other members.
I understand your position clearly, and we did have Mr. Cohen make their case for them.
This was this is one of the condo owners.
I understand that. They have a representative.
I'm fine. I just wanted to be clear as to the fact that there's someone that was wanting to speak, and then Mr. Cohen has a response too. So that's just keeping traffic flow.
I appreciate your support for the homeowners there, and they had the first opportunity to speak.
If I can be clear, I wasn't trying to express support for the homeowners. I was expressing their opportunity for them to speak.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm asking now for a motion from a board member on the recommendation from the land use committee.
I'd like to make a motion that we hear from the homeowner.
Oh, I second that motion.
We have
Is
to
that
vote.
Deborah Young?
Yes, that was Deborah Young.
Yeah, I see.
I don't think we need to vote on that. It's
It's a common courtesy.
Okay, as I said earlier, their representative was the first person to speak on this item, but we will hear from one of the homeowners.
And
Thank you.
furthermore, I'd like to second what Mr. Callahan had to say. If there was a document that was relevant to this evening's deliberations that was not distributed to either the land use committee or the full board, I think that's a problem, but we'll deal with that in a few minutes.
The name of the homeowner that requested to speak is, sorry, I believe it's Mandy Moxley.
Ms. Moxley, please make your statement. 3 minutes, please.
If Miss Moxley is calling in, she has to press *6 to unmute herself. *6 to unmute yourself on your cell phone.
Okay, I don't see her in the participant list. Is
I
there
don't see her
another
either. I
owner?
see Caitlin Henderson.
Yeah, maybe there's another
Caitlin Henderson.
I'm not sure, but as we move forward and take a vote on this, please, Mr. Witherwax, correct the list of the roll. It's 875 St. Mark's.
I will do that. And since now the homeowners are here, perhaps we could hear from Mr. Cohn as a final word.
That would be good. Thank you.
That would be good. Again, 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I won't take 3 minutes. I believe that the homeowners are willing to work with the community board and postpone the landmarks hearing. We feel that it's important that everybody gets all the information that we sent out and that they're aware of the situation and also aware of what, everybody is willing to do and try and bring the building back to as much of a historical, the original historical appearance as feasible within their means. So I think everybody is willing to work with you. We're happy to do that. And I think we're willing to postpone the LPC hearing to begin those discussions.
Mr. Cohn, may I give you contact information for the representative for Kings County at the State Historic Preservation Office so that you can conference with him to get information on the historic preservation tax credit programs as well as the grant programs?
Sure, of course.
Okay, his name is Daniel McEnany. McEnany. Let's see. 518-268-2162. And I know he'll forgive me for giving out his mobile phone number because they're not in the office.
No problem.
Okay, let me give you your office number just in case. 518-421-4000.
Got it.
Okay, so, and they have a very deep and carefully presented website, New York State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO.
Madam Chair, if I may work to dispose of this item.
As I said earlier, before it was proposed that we hear from 2 or 4 other people, I'd
I
like.
know what I said. I'm prepared to dispose this and make a motion to send this back to committee for review
Okay.
with the understanding that the applicant is withdrawing or canceling its hearing date at LPC.
Okay,
I second that, Irsa.
thank you. So we'll call the roll on that. Please, Mr. Witherwax.
But can we confirm with the applicant that he will withdraw his LPC hearing? Before?
I will. Yes,
And will you send confirmation to the board office for our records as soon as possible?
certainly. And will you all distribute the documents that we sent around as well?
I'm seeing indication from our board office that they will. Thank you, Ms. George.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
With the
District Manager
understanding,
George is shaking her head that she will distribute the materials. And so we have a motion to return the item to committee. And we have a second from Ms. Weatherspoon, and we'll call the roll on that now that we have agreement from the proponent to withdraw from LPC.
And implicit in that is not to file again until you've appeared before committee. But we'll
I don't know how to do this, so excuse me if I'm being disruptive, but how, I think it's going to be important for not only us, but for the applicants to know what they need to come back to the table with. And I'm not so sure about how we do that with them. I mean, there were some issues with what was being proposed, but I think in all fairness, for them to come back not knowing not being clear what our concerns are about what their proposed plan are is just us possibly revisiting where we were before.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, Ms. Young. And what I would ask that they come back with is a plan to restore the things that LTC has asked them to restore per the violations that were issued, the violations that were issued. So that would require a cost analysis and visitations from contractors that would give them quotations for the work to be done that would meet LPC's requirements for restoration to a status pre-removal of the curved windows and the slate or stonework on the turreted, rounded turret, and the doors being placed back with the glass in the front, and all of the things that LPC cited them for. That is the standard that they would have to meet. And they need to cost that out and figure out how they divide those costs amongst themselves and plan for the tax credit. That's what these tax credit programs are for, to reduce that financial pinch when you want to do the type of detailed work that's involved in these 100-year-old buildings. Is not just slapping up some concrete and plasterboard the way they do now. So that's what I would expect. To meet the violations and cure them in the spirit of the recommendations from LPC. Is that what you're looking for, Ms. Young?
Yeah, I would ask Mr. Cohen to say whether he understands clearly what we would be looking for. And as long as he understands what he needs to come back with. Okay.
I just wanted to add that the motion that I made was just to send back to committee. I think the conversation of what the applicant needs to do in that committee meeting is a discussion that can be had with the committee chair and potentially other interested parties in advance of the next meeting.
Okay.
I said, but in efforts to dispose of this item on tonight's meeting, and taking the sentiment that I've heard from many of our members as well as other conversations, the motion was just to move it back to committee for additional review before making a decision on this.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis and Ms. Weatherspoon. I believe we all agree with you. And what Ms. Young is trying to do is to make all of that activity truly fruitful and focused and productive at the end, because between now and the time they come back to committee, they'll be working. And Ms. Young's recommendation was to give them the proper target to work toward. And I'm with her 100%, and I appreciate the motion from you and the support from Ms. Weatherspoon to have them do that work. Now they know what the work is. So again, to return it to committee, that's a motion that's on the floor. The question is seconded, and I ask for a roll call.
Kiermany Allison.
Yes, to support.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Glinda Andrews, Desmond Atkins, Lisa Atkinson, Wayne Bailey, Princess Ben James.
Yes, to support.
Thank you. Julia Boyd.
Yes.
Thank you. Gail Branch Mohammed.
Yes.
Thank you. John Buckholz.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Callahan, Robert Callahan.
Aye.
Thank you. Hanji Charles.
Yes.
Thank you. Helen Coley. Nora Daniel. James Ellis.
Did you
Yes.
say yes, Daniel?
Yes. Miss Daniel.
Yes.
Thank you. Kevin Farley.
Yes.
Thank you. Andrea Ferris. Thank you. Drew Gabriel.
Yes.
Thank you. Tamika Gibbs.
Yes.
Thank you. Najani Granville. Jeannie Harris Glenman.
Yes.
Thank you. Marva Henry.
Yes.
Thank you. Zerzima Jordan. Thank you. Miss Kinsey, Regina Kinsey. Sarah Lazar.
Yes.
Thank you. Murray Lemaine. Nilette Mahoney.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Puka.
Yes.
Thank you. Yaya Raji.
Yes.
Thank you. Adam Sachs.
Abstain.
Thank you. Brian Saunders.
Yes.
Thank you. Meredith Staten. Carmisha Superville. Audrey Tate Hall. Mark Thurton. Thank you. Greg Todd.
Yes.
Thank you. Ethel Tias.
Yes.
Thank you. Gib Viconi.
Yes.
Thank you. Eves Willis. Kimberly Watson. Irsa Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax, yes. Deborah Young.
Yes.
The motion passes, 28 in favor, 1 abstention.
So now, Mr. Cohn, are we clear on the next steps?
Yes, I am, and we'll begin putting together some information and package that we can start discussing with you.
Okay, would you please send us a copy of the board on the email that you sent to LPC requesting a postponement?
Certainly, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Next item up on our agenda for this evening, I don't think that we've had an opportunity to hear from any other elected representatives in the audience. Ms. George?
Good night, everyone. This is Karen Chambers. I represent the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. I bring you greetings. Tonight, I just want everybody to know that we are working remotely from home. Only 25% of the staff goes into the office. So if you have any issues or concerns, I'm here still working, helping. My phone number is 718-250-4877. And please reach out to me if you have any issues or concerns. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there other elected reps in the audience who wish to speak now? If not, we'll go on to.
We have our new district leader from the 43rd Assembly District. He's on.
Oh, okay.
Where is he? Edu?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, everyone. Madam Chair, Executive Board, and the rest of the Committee Board 8 members at large. My name is Edu Hermlin, and I am the new male district leader and New York State committeeman for the 43rd Assembly District. I have 20 years of experience working in government and in education, and I look forward to working with all of you in ensuring that we can move this community together. I am also an active member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and we do a lot of social community activities throughout Brooklyn and Queens. And we're looking to partner up with Community Board 8 to do some community outreach. Once again, my name is Edu Hermelin. I am the new male district leader and New York State committeeman of the 43rd Assembly District.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Madam.
Indiana Love.
Hello?
Hello. I was about to say, Mr. Hermelin, thank you for joining us. We look forward to working very closely with you to make life better for everyone who lives in this district.
Thank you very much.
So who do we have up next? Ms. Weatherspoon, Mr. Ellis?
A representative from Senator Myrie's office. What is his name? Godfrey? Is Godfrey still here?
Godfrey, yes. Looks like he might have left.
I think we should move on to committee reports. First up at bat would be economic development. I believe that's Chairman Brian Saunders leading the charge. Mr. Saunders.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to tell you, give you a brief update. What's going on at Economic Development Committee. We had a meeting this last Tuesday, and Banco Popular made a presentation. The committee's been kind of on reserve status for the last few months. So I welcome aboard new members to come and get involved with as far as helping this committee to support or look forward to working with everyone together. Our meetings are usually the second Tuesday of every month, which you can refer to, go back to Ms. George or the website. But I look forward to having anyone who can help me, move us forward and just help us out in this drastic and dire situation we're going as far as the economic community itself. Thank you.
Mr. Saunders, do you want to do an advance distribution of the proposal from Popular Bank on the business banking district?
Our meeting was about Banco Popular Business Development District, and didn't have a quorum for this last meeting, so we couldn't vote to support. So what I was looking forward is to actually having a couple more members come together, community board members or future committee members come together to find out what we want as far as for Banco Popular to get the support from us. And then at a later date, push it towards the full board to vote. But at the present moment, I don't think that we have enough as far as like the needs of the community to push it forward at this present moment. So that's why I need members, individuals to come aboard and to help me to find out what are our needs in this community before we can support and put it to the full board. So I'd like to have at least one more meeting before this is like presented to the full board. And I welcome anyone to come aboard and help me out with this.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. District Leader George, would you want to do any advance advertising on this?
So Banco Popular sent out the presentation late today, so I will forward it to all the board members tomorrow so everyone can review it.
Thank you. Keep in mind, everyone, the things that you would ask for yourself, very similar to the things that a business owner would ask for their business. Lower rates for the services from the bank. The bank is going to get help from the government. Take a look at what they put in writing and be prepared to join Mr. Saunders at his next meeting, the date which he can announce, and bring your asks to Popular, so it's a good handshake. They get something and we get something. Mr. Saunders, when is your next meeting date?
It's next of December, the second Tuesday of December. Am I correct?
December 8th, December 8th. December 8th.
So that's good. That'll be on the calendar, and Mr. Saunders will share the information, hopefully in advance, and make sure you bring the things that you would want for yourself or for your business to that discussion.
Well, I got the information later this evening. I pass it on, and hopefully everyone on this call can get the information by tomorrow, and we can move forward that way.
Thank you. The next committee report would be from Youth and Education and Youth.
No report. Marva Henry or Nora Daniels, nothing to report? Okay. Next committee.
Sorry,
EST.
having trouble unmuting. Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. We did not meet this month.
You have to speak louder. I'm barely hearing you.
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. Can you hear me now?
Very faintly. Turn up your speaker.
The Youth and Education Committee did not meet this month.
Okay. No meeting. Okay. And your next meeting is when?
December 1st at 7:15 p.m.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So next would be EST.
Good evening, everyone. Robert Witherwax, Chair of the EST. Ms. Neerza Weatherspoon is the co-chair of the EST committee. We did not meet in October. We will be meeting a little off a rotation because of Thanksgiving. We're going to meet on the third Tuesday of the month, which is the 17th this month. So it's this coming Tuesday. Agenda to be determined, but it might include a review of the co-naming application. And in the coming months, we don't have a date set yet. We're going to hear from the Department of Information Technology about some of the new 5G infrastructure that's going to be coming out into our district soon. So hope to hear from you and see you on our Zoom on Tuesday.
Thank you, Mr. Witherwax. Next committee report should be from the Health Committee.
Hey, everybody. So we are getting restarted as the Health Committee. Next week will be our first meeting. It'll be Thursday, the 19th from 6 to 7. So please join myself and Tamika. It's a really exciting opportunity because we're going to be setting all of our priorities for 2021. We have a draft list, but we're really enthusiastic about hearing from the board and the community about what everyone thinks our health priorities should be going into this year where health is extra important. Yeah, so come out and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
That was short and sweet. Thank you very much. Truly appreciate it. Next committee report is from the Housing Committee. That would be Ms. Granville, I believe.
Ms. Granville stepped away. She'll be back in 5 minutes. So can we come back to her?
I think we should. We'll move on to the Parks Committee.
And is here.
We couldn't hear you speaking, Ms. Tyus.
No, it was actually Irsa. I'm just saying that I don't believe Miss Glenda Andrews is here this evening.
No.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the Public Safety Committee. I believe that's Mr. Thurton.
Mark Thurton, you gotta excuse me. I lost my voice over the weekend, so I'm gonna have a little difficulty over here talking. We met on October the 26th, which is Monday. Deputy Inspector Butterfoltio was attended the meeting. He gave us a summary of the activities that we have going on in our community. We had an increase, unfortunately, in shooting incidents and victims in the 77th precinct. We also touched on the scooter concerns that we have all over the place, that they're riding on the sidewalks. Unfortunately, with the 77th precinct and the police as a whole, if a scooter is stationary, they could address the concern with the scooter. But if they're rolling or if they're riding away fast or running through lights, the police departments will not chase them for safety reasons for the pedestrians and for the other citizens. What else we have going on? Oh, we had a big change. Deputy Inspector Pierre Louise, who's been serving the 77th precinct for about 20 years, he's moved on. He's moved on to One Police Plaza. His last day was yesterday, and he started his new position today. So all the best to him over there. Our next meeting will be on Monday, November the 23rd. We hope to have a presentation being done by a representative from Neighbors in Action from the SOS. So he's going to give his standpoints of what they're trying to do to reduce the crime and the violence in the area without the police intervention. So if you guys can participate on that, that will be on November the 23rd. That's on Monday, and we'll send out the invites for that. That's about it for public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very encouraging to hear. Very, very encouraging. Just hope it's done cautiously. The next committee report will be from seniors. I believe that's Ms. Mohammed.
Good evening, everyone. This is Gail Mohammed, Chair of the Senior Committee. The Senior Committee met in November, and we usually do a wellness check, and it's a challenge with meeting with the seniors because we used to have on-site meetings, but because of COVID-19, we've been doing everything by telephone conference, and many of our seniors do not have computers or cell phones to be able to participate by cell phone or by computer. So it's been a challenge, but we've been able to maintain about 13 seniors from the building David Chavis, which is located on Kingston Avenue between St. John's and Sterling. One of the issues that came up at our last meeting, they were interested in getting vouchers for the fresh fruits and vegetables. And thankfully, Michelle has been able to secure vouchers for them. And we're looking to give those out to them prior to the Thanksgiving holiday. Also, we've been in touch with Diana Richardson's office, and today they delivered 300 meals to the seniors on Kingston Avenue. Unfortunately, we sent back about 250 because we were not able, by the time the food arrived, the boxes arrived, and we were able to make contact with the seniors. We only were able to reach about 50. So we had to send them back because they were perishables. There's also a joint venture about to happen where the seniors in the same building are going to get pre-prepared meals for Thanksgiving. One of the businesses on Nostrand Avenue, Sweet Brooklyn, they're donating 150 meals to the seniors on Kingston Avenue. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 2nd, and we send out notices and people can call in for the meeting. I think that's it.
That is such fantastic news. You are racking them up. Gold star.
Yeah, talk to my back about it. with the, because when they make those deliveries, they aren't able to come inside, so they have to do curbside. And it's up to the facility to move those meals indoors. So, and that was done today.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Ms. Mohammed. There are some young folks on my block who might be willing to come in and do the ferrying from the curb to the kitchen or however it's lobby.
That would be helpful.
Okay, let's talk about it offline. Okay, I think we're going to go back now. Thank you again, Ms. Mohammed. We're going to go back for the committee report on housing, I hope. Ms. Granville?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. We started out by talking about the tax liens. Our meeting was October 14th. And as far as I know, the tax lien sale was postponed. They did not have it. There had to be some conversations with the elected officials and with the mayor, because it seemed as though because of the budget, he was inclined to have a tax lien sale anyway, even though it would mean that some homeowners would lose their property. We talked about some things that we could do this year as far as letters that could be written. And one of the items that came up was the fact that the affordability level for the level for affordable housing was changed from 25% to 30% of the household income. And when they look at 30% of the household income, they're looking at the gross and not the net. And they're not considering electricity or gas when they look at that. So it's a problem. Mr. Barak from the Borough President's Office recently had told Ms. Tyus, our chairperson, that a lot of people who have put in for affordable housing have been rejected because of that. And that's something that people were not aware of. So it's something that we have to take into account. And the other thing I wanted to mention is the fact that we have had some moratorium with evictions because of the pandemic, but some people have taken advantage of it to the point where they're not paying rent, even though they're still employed full-time. And that causes a problem. So we're thinking that there should be something in the process where people should have to document the fact that they're truly unemployed and cannot pay. Because if they're not paying and they can pay, it is a disadvantage to landlords who must continue to pay for the services in the building. So we're looking forward to other people coming out. We're looking forward to hearing what other people have to say. And that's basically my report for October.
Thank you very much, Ms. Granville. Look forward to following up on that. It's a constant fight. And we're glad to have members like Crown Heights Tenants Union in the group so that we can make our voices heard. Let me see what else we're missing here. Ms. George, I have to come back to you for old business. Anything we need to pick up?
Mr. Witherwax has his hand up.
Hand up, yeah.
Bylaws.
Yes.
What is that?
Bylaws.
Oh, we left off the bylaws.
I got to do my 3 minutes of bylaws aerobics. So we met over the summer to propose some amendments for the bylaws.
Was on and she didn't say nothing.
What?
Oh, sorry.
And the process is we had to present in October, present in November, and we're going to vote in December. So tonight I need to go over the changes that we proposed. These have been circulated, all the members, but I'm going to just go over them for the sake of the record. So we made some changes to the membership. We put in default languages for leaves of absence from board service. So if you want to go off board service and not resign, there's a procedure for that we didn't have before. We put a notice requirement in for excuses for meetings. Tell us you can't make it, and you won't have an absence on your record. And we shortened the notice requirement for removal proceedings. Priorly, it was 30 days. We shortened it to 21 days. We've made some changes to elections. How timely, how topical. We put in what I'm calling an escape clause in the event that we cannot meet in person to vote, which is in our bylaws, and God forbid COVID stretches on, that would permit the nominating committee and the district manager to set some alternate rules. And if we have a vacancy in a seat of an officer, currently we have to have an election for that, but we've changed the rules to say that the chair should be able to appoint with the approval of the other officers to fill that seat a little more efficient, a little less voting. We made some changes to the officer rules. The chair is a non-voting member of all committees. The chair of the board is a non-voting member of all committees. We established the emeritus category, saying that a retiring board chair who served 2 or more terms may bear the designation for the next board year. And we put in some more specific definitions for the duties of our other officers, the vice chairs, the secretary, and the sergeant of arms. We propose a few changes for our committees. We propose that the vice chairs of each committee should be chosen by the board chair in consultation with that committee's chair. Previously, it was just by the board chair. We have proposed that committees have to meet at least 4 times. Right now, the language is quarterly, which is a little muddy. 4 times in the board year. We have rearranged the executive committee composition. We've proposed that only the officers and the chairs of the committees comprise the executive committee. Again, currently, vice chairs also get incorporated, and it's just gotten to be about half the board, so it's a real deal. And we made a few what I'm calling miscellaneous changes. We have made it clear and explicit that the district manager has personnel authority. We have made changes to the bylaws of Friends of CV8 that incorporate all of these changes automatically by reference. And we've clarified the definition of board term and board year, which were kind of just muddied and mixed up a little bit in the text of the current bylaws. A term for a member or an officer is the 2 years that you are appointed or elected to serve. A board year starts in September 1 and ends in August 31st of the next calendar year. So we wanted to make sure that those 2 terms were clear. And those are the changes. And next month, we're going to have action items where somebody's going to actually propose we adopt or modify or reject some or all of these. So I look forward to that in December. Thank you all.
Thank you for that update, Mr. Witherwax. So we are doing this again. I think the last time the bylaws were updated was 2018. We're fine tuning them. I hope you will all take a very close look at what is being proposed. And if you need an update, a copy of what is being proposed, please contact the board office for a copy. I'm sure they were distributed 2 months ago at this point, correct, Ms. George?
That's correct. That's
All
correct.
right, so I want to back up a minute to a combined land use housing committee.
Can I just interrupt? Ms. Mahoney has a comment or in addition to Ms. Granville's information regarding the tax lien?
Yes, we need to hear that.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to add on. So the tax lien sale has at this point been delayed at least until early 2021. So we're looking at January. So I just wanted to tag a date onto it so nobody has to feel nervous about it in December at this point. Also, if you find yourself on the tax lien sale, the right thing to do is to get after your electives and DOF, but to absolutely use social media as an advocacy tool to comment at your electeds in a public forum of Twitter will get you a much faster and proactive response than a traditional letter writing campaign. And the other thing I wanted to add as far as the income limits on the affordable housing units, that is absolutely correct that it's gross and not net income, which is a bit unrealistic, but that rule is outside of the city's hands. That's a federal HUD regulation about how we have to look at affordable income brackets. They set the median income brackets, not the city directly. So it's something everyone has talked about for a long time, but unfortunately there's no local authority to change that interpretation of it.
Thank you, Ms. Mahoney. I am not a fan of suffering in silence, and our elected officials don't know what we need unless we tell them. So we need to tell them that they should make these decisions on a hyperlocal basis. It should be done on a district level. The lines are going to be drawn again in 2021. Stay awake, folks, because we will become roadkill if we don't keep our eyes on what's going on here. So thank you for those reminders and your opinions. I hope you'll bring them forward to the committees that handle them. As far as the lien sales, we just want to avoid any mistaken transfers to third parties based on incorrect data, as happened to one of our former board members previously, where a sign-off was done on misinformation. So I think the board has to back up, and we'll be sending a letter to the issuing agency. They have to respond according to the charter, and that would be the Department of Finance on that one. So we'll be working behind the scenes to get that letter out and demand a response. So I want to go back to housing and land use and talk about the meeting on the 10th, where we had HPD come in and talk about their plans for senior housing and quasi market rate housing at 2 sites near in the M Crown zone, 516 Bergen Street and 542 Dean Street. So I'm hoping I can get Ms. Granville to come back and speak about that. Ms. Granville, you want to take it?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
To hear the opinions of the community who are not board members. Apparently, a lot of people feel that this RFP is somewhat premature, that a lot of the details are missing, and they're not really happy about the zoning. I wasn't sure from what I heard if the zoning has to be changed to put the 2 buildings up as proposed. So a lot of people had questions about the zoning, and they couldn't understand why RFPs are being put out when a detail as important as the zoning has not been decided on yet. So you can give them your impression, but I got the impression last night a whole lot of people don't have too much faith in HPD. And they also sound like they may not have too much faith in the Department of City Planning.
Thank you, Ms. Granville. Right now, the outreach for the HPD RFP is supposedly aimed at scoping what should be built there. They're planning for a design workshop on the 18th of November. And the links for these workshops are on the HPD website for the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Contractor Search. So if you want to attend that meeting by HPD, please go onto their website and fill out an RSVP so that you get the link. They had planned to wrap this process up of scoping on December 10th. They have bruited about that they have information or contributions from the community on what should be built there. But the first meeting with Community Board 8, where the projects will be located, was on the 10th. So we asked them to change their project wrap-up report back from December 10th to either December 14th, 16th, 18th, 17th, or 18th for reconvening and for the wrap-up. We haven't gotten a confirmation back from them yet, but the survey deadline for them on their website for that project is the 27th of November. So you want to take a look at that. We had asked them to send us a brief presentation that they made, but I believe that is also on their website. So we should be taking a close look at that. They're planning for the market rate site to subsidize the senior housing site, and they're looking to build between 80 and 100 housing units on those 2 sites. So the contract award could be split between different contractors. We're not sure what's going to happen, but we want to work with HPD to help them make well-informed decisions, since this is going to be in our community district. So That's one thing we're going to continue to look at. Now, so that brings us pretty much up to date on old business. I'm sorry, is there new business we need to cover?
Ms. Tyus?
Yes.
This is Kathy. I'm sorry, I asked if I a comment in the chat. So if you can recognize me or not.
Yes, I'm recognizing you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you to Ms. Granville for acknowledging that she was hearing from members of the community who are in the northern part of Prospect Heights, where the two sites are located. And I think one of the important things to also stress, as you did, Ms. Tyus, in requesting an RFP when zoning has not even, there's been no zoning announced to the community. And what some people were making the point that if you're requesting an RFP, the zoning will be baked into any proposal. And we're being asked to comment on things that we don't have all of the information. And what we really feel strongly as Andrew Sommer, I think Alex Sommer and Winston Van Engel in talking about the entire M-Crown project is that city planning needs to be holistic. And this is not in any way, as far as many residents of North Prospect Heights are concerned, a holistic review and proposal. And we want to make sure everyone knows that we support senior housing in our neighborhood. But without information and without good planning, I think that's what we're asking for. We're asking for further discussion, for this conversation not to be happening so fast on the DCP side, to already be having a design meeting without information. And you just said something, Ms. Tyus, you mentioned a market rate site. I don't think we had heard anything about a market rate site. We'd heard about they changed from one site to the other site, but I didn't understand that there was a market rate site. So maybe you could clarify that if you have information that we don't have. But thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Ms. Tyus.
Mr. Bocconi has a comment.
Thank you, Madam, or thank you, Ms. George.
Yeah, I wanted to just make a couple of comments about this. There is no market rate that's part of this project. Both sites are going to be affordable. The Dean Street site has been designated as being a site for senior housing. That site is the building that is intended to be built there. Will make use of Section 8 vouchers, and as such will be deeply affordable to the seniors who live there. The Bergen Street building has not had any, is supposed to be conventional apartments, fully subsidized, all affordable, but the affordability levels haven't been specified. And that is, I believe, one of the key things to get into the RFP at this point. There's been a tremendous amount of middle income, affordable housing built in Prospect Heights over the last several years. More than half of Atlantic Yards is middle income. And it's very difficult to give away in the lotteries because the rents are almost market rate. And as these properties are city-owned land and they represent the lowest land cost you can possibly have for affordable development, in my view, there's no excuse not to make the Bergen Street building deeply affordable along the lines of what's called for in the city's extremely low and low income affordability programs. I share the concerns about the zoning analysis. I think it's not possible for HPD to release the RFP without saying something more about the zoning that they've said so far. HPD on their website does say that they're looking for an upzoning to R7A. That presents a practical issue for any bidder, because if they're only talking about those two sites that are targeted for development for rezoning, there's a requirement when R7A is next to R7B that there's a 25-foot transition zone between those two.
R6B.
R6B. There's a 25-foot transition requirement where they're limited to 65 feet maximum height, as opposed to 95 feet that's possible in R7A. In short, there's no way for a bidder a bidder must know if they're going to be subject to that zoning envelope before they can propose development there. So there's no way that can't be specified as a function of the RFP. So if HPD is planning on those sites alone being upzoned, they need to tell the bidders that, because it will significantly limit the floor area they can develop. If they're planning for a bigger area, then I think they need to explain what that area is and how it's going to fit together, because in particular, the Dean Street lot is right next to buildings in the Prospect Heights Historic District that are zoned R6B. If they were, anyway, let me just say, it's important to know what the zoning boundary is. I think everybody's calling for HPD and DCP to be clear about that. And in my view, that's a reasonable request. They should tell us what their strategy is there.
Thank you, Mr. Vacconi. I'm struggling with the difference between 150% affordable and market rate, but that's another discussion.
Well,
I'm just.
What does that mean, though? I don't understand.
We could discuss it offline, okay? From what I heard, they were planning a wrap-up. They, meaning HPD, was planning a wrap-up on December 10th. And they've been asked by myself to not have this wrap-up meeting on the night of our full board meeting for December, and instead to postpone it to one of the dates that I cited, the 14th, 16th, 17th, or 18th, to wrap up and report back on what their decisions are going to be for this. So somewhere in there, we will also be meeting with city planning. We should be asking city planning to sit in on these meetings so that we can nail down what the zoning will be. From what I'm hearing from the community members who've been coming to the land use committee meeting, this is something that we should be looking at, lower zoning, but that would make the projects almost untenable economically. We're in a conundrum. So
yeah. I think that, I mean, if I might, I think that they should also explain what other zoning districts have been considered and whether other potential zoning would have been financially viable for development. They haven't said that, but I think that's reasonable, and they should explain it. But I would like to propose that the community board formally request DCP and HPD to share what the zoning boundary will be for this that's associated with this RFP, because it goes directly. They must know. What I'm saying is, I hope that this is clear. They must know what it is for the bidders to propose. They can't not know this. And so I think that we should request it, and perhaps I will even move that the community board make that request of HPD and the Department of City Planning that they disclose to the community the proposed zoning boundary at the urban design meeting.
And we tried to get them, Gib, thank you very much. We tried to ask them that question at the meeting the other night, and they were not answering that question when we tried to ask them that directly. So I appreciate you bringing that up tonight, Gib.
Gib, if you make a
Okay.
motion, I will second it gladly.
We're trying to speak in turn, please.
Please acknowledge the process by either raising your hand or putting a comment in the chat.
Okay, we have a nascent motion from Mr. Vacconi. Could you restate your proposition, Mr. Vacconi?
My motion is that the board requests HPD and DCP to disclose the zoning boundary that's being proposed for the HPD RFP.
Seconded. That was Sarah Lazar.
Thank you, Ms. Lazar. Mr. Witherwax, we have a motion on the floor to require HPD to disclose the zoning boundary for their MWBE RFP that's under consideration now. Can we call a roll on that, please?
I have a friendly amendment.
I don't know if the motion maker will accept it because I don't know what it is.
Okay, Gib, I also wanted to be maybe a little more specific to say, that they're asking for R7A to specifically say what zoning they're asking for each site, not just a zoning boundary.
Well, they are asking for 7A on their website. That's what it says.
Okay.
So I think that question's been answered, but the zoning boundary has not.
Okay.
And just from a practical standpoint, this is a request to HPD to disclose the zoning boundary by when?
By the urban design meeting that they're holding on the 18th of November.
So prior to the 18th. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody clear on the motion? Hearing no objections. Kimini Allison.
Yes, support.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Princess Ben James.
Yes.
Thank you. Julia Boyd.
Yes.
Thank you. Gail Branch Muhammad. John Buckholz.
Wait a minute, back up. I think she's still on the line. Ms. Muhammad, are you with us? No, okay.
All right, Mr. Buckholz. Mr. Callahan.
Hey, little boy.
Yes.
Hey, little boy.
Anji Charles. Laura Daniel.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. James Ellis. Thank you. Kevin Farley.
Yes.
Thank you. Andrea Ferris.
Yes.
Thank you. Drew Gabriel.
Yes.
Thank you. Tamika Gibbs. Thank you. Najani Granville.
Yes.
Thank you. Jeannie Harris Blenman.
Yes.
Thank you. Marva Henry.
Abstain.
Thank you. Suzima Jordan.
Yes.
Thank you. Sarah Lazar.
Yes.
Thank you. Murray Lemaine. Elaine Mahoney.
Christina and San Luis.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Mahoney. Robert Puka.
Yes.
Thank you. Yaya Raji.
Yes.
Thank you. Adam Sachs. Sachs may have left us. Brian Saunders.
I'm sorry, this is Adam. Yes. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Thank you, Mr. Saunders.
Yes.
Mark Thurton.
Yes.
Thank you. Greg Todd.
Yes.
Thank you. Ethel Tias.
Yes.
Thank you. Gib Viconi.
Yes.
Thank you. Yrsa Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax. Yes. Deborah Young.
Yes. Gail
Mr.
Muhammad,
Witherwax?
yes.
Gail was a yes. Thank you.
And Hanji Charles put in the chat that she said yes. She wasn't sure what was heard.
It was not. So thank you, Ms. Charles. Mr. Ellis, do you have something to add?
No, I was just going to share as I'm monitoring the chat, Ms. Charles's comment.
Thank you. I had not heard that. So that's great. So that puts us at 28 in favor, 1 abstention.
28 in favor and 1.
Excuse me.
Ms. Jordan, you want to mute yourself?
Tyus?
Yes.
Excuse me, Ms. Tyus. This is Yrsa. I just noticed that Kathy Iceland had a question as we were voting. If can they confirm the zoning request and the zoning boundary?
Okay, as Mr. Viconi mentioned, HPD's website is announcing the target is R7A, but we don't know where it ends. They don't know what the boundary, they haven't announced the boundary, so we're asking them to do that. And we're asking them to make that announcement at the design meeting on November 18th. This is HPD's meeting on November 18th. The RFP workshop, design workshop for this RFP. But we have asked them to work with us on the wrap up and report back that they're advertising on their website for this project. And we asked them to get back to us on a date that is not our full board meeting date. It would be after our full board. So I will have to ask Ms. George to work with HPD to get that commitment firmed up and to get this request out to them for the definition of the zoning boundary for
Yes,
the.
we will get it out first thing in the morning.
Thank you, ma'am. So now where are we on the agenda items for today?
We have Orlando Ross from Congresswoman Clark's office, and then we can open it up to public comment, announcement of the elected official reps.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to thank everyone from Community Board 8 to allow me to speak. We did do an event, and we wanted to thank Community Board 8 for the hand sanitizers, for partnering with us and making sure that the community is safe. As you know, we do have a newly elected President Biden, and we just want to make sure that Congresswoman wants to make sure that the Congress and everyone in DC respects that decision. If you have any questions, I am here, and just have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. It's good to hear from our Congress member. We'd love to know what we can do to make the Senate blue. So you can go forward from there.
Move to Georgia.
1 second. We would like, well, I'm not going to say we would, but the way that you could do that is to try to make sure to partner with the Georgia Democratic parties that are down there to make sure that that our senators are going to be put in place. But that's about it. You can just follow the news and they'll tell you what to do.
Thank you very much. What else are we missing, Ms. George?
Any additional public comments, announcements, elected official reps? Anyone?
Looking at all attendees. Nope. Okay, so.
Hello.
Yes. Who's
Hi, this
speaking?
is Tamika Gibbs. I'm sorry. I was, of
Okay.
course, I was trying to find the what's the name button, the unmute button. I just wanted to extend the invitation, just to. I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of a bunch of stuff. The Imperial Bikers, located on the corner of St. Mark's and Franklin, will be doing our annual Feeding the Hungry. We have also been too closed since March, but this is something that a lot of our shelter and our regular community members come in and enjoy. Ms. George, if it's possible, we actually have a meeting this Saturday. If it's possible, I can send a flyer to you. I think it's actually it's in December, but I don't think we have a meeting before we actually feed the hungry, because we feed them for Christmas, because everybody feeds them for Thanksgiving and nobody feeds them for Christmas. So just look out for our annual Feeding the Hungry. We also have a couple of things in the works, but again, we're still trying to work around our parameters in COVID time. So look forward to that, and everybody have a happy holiday.
Thank
you, Ms. Gibbs. Who else? Ms. Weatherspoon, Mr. Ellis?
I have no indications in the chat or by any raised
None.
hands.
Okay. I just want to go back for a minute to the motion to have HPD disclose the zoning boundaries. That is by November 18th, not on November 18th, but by their design meeting, which should be prior to the November 18th design workshop. Okay. What else are we missing?
That's it. We've covered everything.
So unless there's anything else, then I ask for a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to close.
I second it.
Second.
Thank you all for coming, and hope to see you at the land use meeting on December 3rd. We'll follow up, and prior to that, we have the RFP online with HPD on the 18th. What other dates should we be reminding people of?
Happy Thanksgiving to all.
That is it. That's true. Thank you. All right. So good night, all. Thank you all for coming.
Bye.